So a number of years ago, I was working with a client of mine, analysing some numbers and doing some things, and something didn't stack up. And we're looking at these things. We're like, these numbers, these expenses that you're incurring, I'm looking at them and they just don't make sense. Like, I don't understand where they're coming from. I'm not seeing any connection to anything that you're running in your business. So we teed up a meeting to have a conversation with their team, and after unpacking it with them a little bit further, it actually was revealed that one of their finance team had been lodging fraudulent invoices for suppliers, and the business had been paying them on their behalf, and they'd effectively been taking all this money out of the business. And I'm not talking a couple of dollars here as well. I'm not even talking thousands. I'm talking hundreds of thousands of dollars. This was big, biggie dollars, right? And this is a business that had policies and procedures in place, but it still happened. And it got me thinking, like, what are we doing out there to actually ensure that this stuff doesn't happen? Because having a policy and a procedure is one thing, but ensuring that it's followed and enforced is something totally different. And ensuring that's followed and enforced, like, we can do that on a spot check or an ad hoc thing, but like, how much time are we having to invest to ensure that's done well? Are we looking at every second transaction? Is your CFO really going to go and look at that BSB and account number to make sure it's correct every time that they have to approve something? Like, what are we actually doing there? And if we're using spreadsheets or those things, can they be easily manipulated to a point where someone can just find a way around? So what I'm saying is, are we actually inviting people to say, you know what, if you need any money, we've got some money, we'd love to give it to you. So what I wonder is, what can you do? And I guess we're talking about this whole approvals process. We're talking about approvals of what should we be spending our money on? What does that budget look like? What is the actual dollar amount that should be going out the door? So that's step one, understanding what that looks like. I think step number two, once we understand what the dollar amount that should be going out the door, what should it be going out on? What should we be spending that money on? So yes, it might be a $50,000 budget, but what is it split between? What type of expenses are we incurring? And then the third level of that, ensuring that when we're spending the money, are we spending the money with the right people? Whether it's things like approved suppliers, or whether it's things like ensuring stuff like BSB and account numbers are actually the BSB and account numbers of the suppliers that we work with as well. And now, like I said, we can have some policies and procedures in place, but there's actually some great technology out there that can do some of that legwork for you. And we're talking cloud technology like Xero that can kind of notify you when, some bank details might be changed. You can restrict some of those things. But we're talking tools like Zahara and so on that actually put in approvals workflow that says, if this, then that. If I'm going to expend this amount of money, it's going to communicate these kind of things to people. So it can be signed off and approved so that you're putting things in place to ensure that it happens every time, rather than just every now and then when you remember or you can be bothered doing that. So think about that. How much money should you be spending? What should you be spending it on? And who should you be spending it with as well? When you're starting to look at that preventing fraud approach and make sure you're managing your cash flow and your budgets appropriately too.